Hi everybody, it's Janae from Lectin Free Solutions. While I've got your ear, could you please like and subscribe? You know, it really helps me to engage with YouTube and be able to produce more content for you. Just takes a second, just hit that button down there. Anyway, today what I want to share with you is the bread recipe that I make for my family. You know, I've talked to you many times before about two things. One, about walnuts and how beneficial they are for your vascular system. So every day we try to have at least one serving of walnuts. Not too long ago, I took one of my favorite egg-free walnut bread recipes. And I've been using this one to make loaves of bread for us, and it really turns out beautifully. It has a real soft, nice crumb. It doesn't get gummy. It slices really nicely, doesn't have too thick of a crust. And the beauty is you don't have to grow sourdough. You don't have to wait for yeast to rise. And you have a loaf of bread that very same day. It takes about 75 minutes to cook it, but it's a real winner, and it's egg-free. Egg-free, and the other thing I forgot to mention was it's very, very low carbs. That's one thing that my family has a very hard time with, is added carbs. So the flours like millet and sorghum, while they're great and good for many people, they're just not the best option for my family. So anyway, I hope you'll give this recipe a try. Maybe you've already tried it as a roll, but try it as a loaf of bread. This recipe will make 2 small or 2 medium-sized loaves, and I've been making it now about once a week, and everybody loves it. So let me know what you think. Give it a try. Here we go. All right, I've got all the ingredients. What we're going to do is add all of the dry ingredients to the food processor. As you know from recipes in the past, I always use whole walnuts. You can use the weights, the measurement's not crucial. Just give yourself a nice full cup of walnuts. You don't have to weigh it. It's fine. These recipes of mine are pretty forgiving. Anyway, I've got 2 cups of walnuts. I have 2/3 of a cup of coconut flour, 1/2 cup of ground golden flax meal, and 1/2 cup of ground psyllium. Not the not the whole psyllium, but the ground. Okay, so we're going to add all of those ingredients in this bowl without trying to do it without making a big mess. And then I've got 4 teaspoons of baking powder, and I've got 1 teaspoon of salt. So that's it for the dry ingredients. Now, if you want to add any flavorings, this is a good time. So if you wanted to add something like caraway seeds, or you wanted to add orange zest, or you wanted to do cinnamon, whatever you like to do, whatever additional flavor, do it now. All right, so here we go. We're going to grind this into a flour, and since we have all these other ingredients added to the walnuts, we don't run the risk of it turning into butter. It'll keep it in a nice flour form. So here we go. All right, to the dry ingredients, we have 4 wet ingredients. We've got 1/4 cup of olive oil, 1/2 cup of full-fat coconut milk. Now, if you can't use coconut milk, you can use something like hemp milk, or you could use tiger nut milk. Any of those milks will work fine. I know not everyone can use that. We also have got 4 teaspoons of apple cider vinegar. And I'm just going to give that, before I add the boiling water, I'm going to give this just a few pulses. Now I'm going to add the boiling water, and I'm only going to do it, in about a third at a time. So that may be a little bit more, but it'll work. Okay, so we'll get that going. Okay, we'll add a little bit more. You also can, you know, if you don't have If you don't have a food processor, you can always buy the walnut flour, and you can do this in a stand mixer. It doesn't have to be, and in fact, that's how I originally used to do it until someone said to me, why aren't you using your food processor to do the whole thing? It's like, well, yeah, I guess I could do that. So now that's how I do it, and it saves me a lot of steps. So now you can give it a peek in there. It still feels like it can take a little water. At this point, what I try and do is I save about the last quarter of a cup of water out, and then I feel it. And if it feels like it's wet enough, then I might not add all that water. That's the one thing that you don't want, is for it to be too wet. And since these flours all vary, your coconut flour varies and your flax meal varies, you have to do it by feel. So we're going to go for a little bit more now. Let that go for a few minutes. There's a couple things you can do. If you did put all the water, you can let it sit for about 10 or 15 minutes and rest. And the coconut flour and the flax meal is going to absorb some of that. So it should work out fine. I'm going to give this another feel and see if I'm going to use the rest of it or not. You know what? I'm going to show it to you now. It's, you can see it's a little wet. It's just about exactly how it should be. So that last little barely quarter, I'm not going to add that. So I'm going to turn this out on I'm going to clean this out, turn it out onto a breadboard, and then we're going to put it on the cookie sheets and get it in the oven. All right, I've got the dough out of the food processor, and I'm just going to give it, I'm going to give it a couple of turns to thin it out a little bit. But you know what? This does not knead, and it doesn't roll like regular dough, so don't expect it to. It's a funny dough. You know what? It's going to look like that. It has all these strange imperfections, and when it bakes, they all disappear. So what I'm going to do is, you can either weigh this so that the loaves are identical, but even if you do, they don't turn out the same size. It's kind of funny. So I'm going to eyeball this in half, and then I'm just going to, so you can see it's just a funny dough. It's much different than any gluten dough. Much different. So we'll roll it out a little bit. You don't want it too large, because it really will, it's gonna really grow in size. You'll be surprised. Okay, so I'll do one here, and then I'm gonna do the same thing with this one. And it looks like you're gonna have all these weird little things that need to be tucked in, but as it bakes, it all just sort of homogenizes together. So it's kind of an interesting science project. Anyway, if you like, you can do an egg wash on these and add seeds, poppy seeds or sesame seeds. That's always tasty. Some people like to do everything bagel. I can't use that in this house because Tom doesn't like it. But I'm not going to do that. You know what? Sometimes the seeds bug me, because when I go to cut the bread for the toaster, I got seeds all over the place. So it's like, well, do I really need those? Nah, not really. All right, so here we go. That's as easy as it is. And then make sure that you have you want them to be about the same thickness. So what you want to do is make sure you have a 350-degree oven, and you're going to bake those for 75 minutes. Don't open the oven, just let it go, and after 75 minutes, turn the oven off. You can crack it if you want to let them cool off that way. That's usually what I do. Or you can just leave the door closed and wait for a few hours and then come and get them. But you'd want to make sure they're completely cool before you cut them. All right, I'm going to get them in the oven, and then we'll check back in a few hours after everything's all cool and ready to eat. Well, we're back with the baked walnut loaves. I hope that I left enough time to cool these off. We're going to cut inside and see, but these are the nicest little loaves of bread. They're good for a little sandwich. I like to toast them and put an egg over easy. Tom really likes that for a breakfast. Whatever it works just like any regular bread. It's just a little different than a roll. It's not quite as The crust isn't quite as dense, just a change. So anyway, let's open it. Let's cut them open and see what happens. Oh yeah, it looks good. I'm going to leave the rest. You can see it's really nice and pliable. It's a really nice soft bread. It's still a little bit warm. It's not doughy there. It's just warm. It's a little compressed from being cut. Well, it's a really nice soft crumb. I think you're really going to like this. It has a nice crust, not hard. And as I mentioned, it makes a really, really nice toast or a really nice little open-faced sandwich. Give it a try instead of the rolls. I think you'll really be happy with it. It's nice to have an egg-free option and something that cooks as fast as this does. 75 minutes and you're done. I cooled it for about an hour and a half. It really needs to cool down longer. A couple more hours would have been better, but I had to wrap up. So anyway, here we are, and let me know in the comments when you give it a try how you like it. Thanks a lot. Thanks for all your support. Bye.